This is the Lobo Pod with the voice of the Lobos, Robert Portnoy.
Hello, Lobo fans, and welcome into a special edition of the Lobo Pod. I'm your host, Robert Portnoy. Our first conversation with the new men's basketball coach at New Mexico, Eric Olen. Coach Olen, great to be with you. Welcome to Albuquerque. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. And I did the math. Today is day 10 since the initial announcement that you would be the head coach at New Mexico. A week and a half in. How's it going?
So far, so good. Yeah, double figures in the days. Yeah, we're making progress. Excited to be here.
So before we started this pod, you were on the phone. You are working the recruiting trail right now. How is that going?
It's going. It's nonstop. And so we're constantly on the phone, on Zooms, having conversations, talking to players and coaches and all the people involved, and just working really hard to put a good team together.
I guess from the Zooms to an official visit, what does that process look like, and how do you know when it's a guy, okay, we want to get this guy in here and look at him face to face?
Yeah, there's typically an initial conversation, kind of gauging interest on both sides. We spend quite a bit of time going through their numbers and their film to evaluate their fit and kind of create a vision for how they would help our team and the role that they'd be in. And so we try to communicate that via Zoom. We'll show them film. We'll watch film and kind of talk about the basketball and the style and maybe how that each player could fit into the way we play and help us. And then, from there, if there's continued interest on both sides and we kind of have alignment on how we see things going and how that player sees his game and understands the fit with us, like if everything sort of continues to check the boxes through that process, then we work through some of the other factors in terms of the NIL and the role and all those things with, their agent or third party who's helping them navigate it. And if we can get all of that on the same page, then, we'll bring them to campus and kind of have the visit. So there's a lot of steps that kind of go into it before you get all the way to the visit or a commitment or those kind of things. So there's a lot of work kind of in the background before that stuff happens. And there's a lot of work where it doesn't actually materialize. So you do it a lot of times and, not all of it pays off, but you just kind of keep going through the process. And I'm confident we'll end up with the right people.
At Coach Olen's introductory press conference, when he put on the cherry blazer for the first time, he did reveal that he's a big analytics guy. And I was thinking about this with regard to analytics. Are there a couple of things with regard to a recruit based on his position, his skill set, and you know that these are the most important analytics for him and how they might fit into your system?
Yes, we do evaluate that for each person at each position, and there are some things in like a front court player, we're going to want to make sure that their rebound rate is a little better than what we would expect from a guard, things like that are a little bit position oriented, but it's less about what each individual has to check specific boxes. It's a little more flexible than that because it's more of the combination of players on the court. So if maybe a player in the front court doesn't have the kind of rebound rate that we would like at that position, that doesn't mean that he can't fit what we're doing. It just means when we build the roster, we have to be mindful of that and potentially add players at different positions who maybe rebound at a higher level that could sort of balance out that deficiency from a certain player. So it's less specific to position, although there are some factors in that. It's a little bit more about the collection of skill sets and how they complement each other.
Boy, it seems like that would be something that's really organic, where as the commitments happen, you're sort of starting to mold the roster to fit the skill sets of the players that have come in and fill the holes that might exist to complement them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like we kind of have a general plan and board of who we're recruiting, but every time a decision gets made, anytime we add a player, that shifts the priority of everyone else. So anytime we add a player that we know is going to be a big part of our rotation or a key piece, then their skill sets and what they bring are now sort of factored in differently, and it changes who else we're going to recruit. Not everybody fits together the same way. So, it's very much a moving target.
Something you said regarding the matchup zone that you play, I thought was really interesting. You said that your roster at UCSD this past year didn't really have the rim protection. So the switching and what you did was something that fit the skill sets of the players that you had. It could look different if you had a Nelly Jr. Joseph on the back line to block shots, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna try to tailor our schemes to the strengths of our players. So, and it could look different even, timeout to timeout if we make a substitution, or if, we could play one way with one group on the floor and then make an adjustment. Not every sort of coverage or scheme or defensive implementation is perfect for every player. So we want to be variable in how we execute. And so, yeah, not just in how we build the roster overall, but even just from rotation to rotation, when we make substitutions, then the schemes would change a little bit.
I thought it was fascinating, too, how you talked about trying to keep the opponent guessing that maybe it really wasn't a matchup zone the whole time, that maybe it was just man, and you happen to be doing some things with the way that you were switching and things like that to sort of confuse them. That's part of the plan, isn't it?
Yeah, I think anytime, whether it's offense or defense, if you can sort of layer things to where it's not exactly clear what you're doing, I think that's more of like kind of a football concept where it kind of all looks the same out of different formations, but you run different routes, or so to speak. Like, I think there's things, and that's not unique to us. I think that's pretty typical, especially on the offensive side of the ball, right? Maybe you have one set out of a certain formation or action, and then you can have multiple counters off of that. Defensively, it's similar. We want it all to look very similar, right? But be able to kind of shift and make adjustments so that, if you're coming out of a timeout and you're planning to run a certain play, well, it's a little harder to know exactly what we're going to be in. We're a little less predictable in that. We can dial up or back our aggression to kind of disrupt some of those things. So, just trying to keep people off balance, and we want to make players kind of figure it out themselves and not have the comfort of, okay, well, this is the structure that we're always in. We want to kind of get them out of those structures a little bit and force them to kind of figure it out on their own.
Coach Olen mentioned offense and football doing the same thing out of different formations and trying to, use deception that way. We hear coaches all the time, flow, flow, flow. What does that mean for the layperson? And you've said that ball screens are a huge part of your offense. Why? How did you come to that?
Yeah. So ball screens is, for us, one of the best ways to create advantage, and so offensively, what we're trying to do is get two defenders to guard the ball, right? Force some help and make a good decision. Like, it's at times kind of that simple. So ball screens is one of the ways you can do that pretty easily to force some help. And anytime we can get two to the ball and we have an advantage, then we just really work a lot on how to amplify advantage, how to get some payoff off of those things, how to stay ahead of the defense once you create a little bit of advantage. So yeah, that's a big part of what we're trying to do. And for us, flow means just sort of this constant pressure on the defense, not allowing them to relax. We try not to sort of dribble the ball out to the top and everybody go to their spot. We want it to be much more kind of constant in our aggression. And so to do that, we don't call as many plays. We just sort of have the players understanding the concepts that we're in and being able to just quickly get to places where they can put pressure on the defense and be aggressive.
Give us a little window into where some of these concepts come from, some of the influences that you've had. I know one of your mentors is Coach Carr, but who has sort of made an impact on you, and maybe what are the teams that you've watched over the years, whether they be college or NBA teams that have kind of planted some seeds?
Yeah, I mean, that's just such a long list. We, I say, like, we didn't invent any of this. All the concepts are stolen from other people and other teams. And so we just sort of arrange those concepts in a way that fits us and our personnel. And then we can change those. We'll continue to steal ideas from other people. And, so, I mean, it's great. There's so much film out there, right? You can see every NBA game. You can see professional games in Europe. You can see all of college basketball. I mean, high school basketball has great coaches. We'll go out on the road in a AAU event or a circuit event, and we'll steal plays from what we're watching. So if we see an idea that we think can work for us, we're absolutely going to steal it and try to apply it. So it's pretty constant in that. I think sort of the European ball screen motion, Gonzaga has kind of made that. Gonzaga, Arizona, that they've really implemented that part from Europe, and we have a variation of that. When John Beilein was at Michigan, we stole some concepts from there. I mean, there's lots of great coaches all over the country, and not just at the big, Coach Ritchie at Furman does some things that we've taken, and just so it's really just all over the country. Anything that we see or can find that we think might work for us, we're always trying to sort of steal that and implement it, or see if we can just add actions or things that can help our players be successful.
Without going through the X's and O's, can you give us an example of a recent season and maybe a baseline out of bounds play that you specifically remember? Okay, I saw that. That's terrific. We're going to put that in. And then the first time you use it, it got you a big bucket.
I can't remember a specific one baseline out of bounds, but there's stuff that we're stealing all the time. We had a concept we really liked in last year that I'm trying to remember who we stole it from. I think it was from Lemoyne back when they were Division II, but now I think they're Division I now. But we stole a little concept from them that where you get kind of catch at the elbow and you have a back cut on one side and a flare in front to sort of have a little bit of a lever action where guys are to go in different directions. Like those are kind of different things that we really like that put pressure on the defense. If you can bring a shooter in front of the defender and you get his eyes in one place, you might be able to back cut him for a layup. So different things like that we see in different places and then once we find something that works, we try to, go back to it a few times, and, different things with every year with different teams sort of fit your personnel. And when you find some that work, then they kind of become your favorites. But those change every year too, because your team changes and no two teams are the same. Great
stuff. The basketball fans are geeking out right now. So one of the things that we want to do is get to know Coach Olen a little bit better today. And you're from Mobile, Alabama. My first question is, what's the best spot for a crawfish boil?
Oh, the backyard. I mean, anytime you can go down to Dolphin Island Parkway in Mobile, Alabama, and there's a bunch of great seafood places down there, and you can get cooked or live crawfish, and you can just do it right in your backyard, and have a little crawfish boil with the family. Like that's pretty great.
Was lucky enough to work in the AA Southern League and minor league baseball for a bit, and many a trip to Mobile. And no kidding, the clubhouse post-game, after games, they would just bring in a big pot, and the guys would just dive in, and it was just crawfish for days. And that's what we're talking about, right?
Oh yeah, just dump it on the table, and everybody goes crazy. It's a little messy, but it's a fun experience.
Awesome stuff. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Introduce your parents to us, and just sort of what it was like being a kid in Mobile.
Yeah, it was a great place to grow up. My parents, Steve and Linda, I think everyone will get a chance to meet them. They'll be out. They're big fans, and they're excited about this. But Mobile was a great place to grow up. My sister and I played tons of sports, and my family spent a lot of the weekends going to either her softball games or maybe it was basketball for me. And it was just like always sports and athletics were just a part of our household, and from a very young age, both my parents played tennis, and and then it was just always part of what we were doing. It felt like every weekend was something, whether it was like I said, my sister playing volleyball or basketball or softball, or I can remember playing baseball and basketball mostly as a kid, and it just felt like that was always what we did. We were always around sports and teams, and it was a great place to grow up, and we really enjoyed that.
I was going to ask you what the other sports were that you specifically played. Baseball was one of them?
I played a little baseball. I got focused on basketball kind of middle school, and kind of dropped all the other sports at that point. And then when I was in high school in Alabama, there weren't as many, it's more of a football state, and there weren't as many basketball coaches. So our assistant basketball coach was the baseball coach, and he kind of talked me into playing a little high school baseball, and just for like maybe my junior and senior year of high school. But only during the season. I would drop everything and do basketball again when it was basketball season. But it was fun. Like I had some friends on the baseball team and played a little bit of high school baseball, but that was never really my sport.
Did you ever put the pads on in the fall? Any football at all?
No football for me. I think my mom was worried I'd get hurt. I wasn't the toughest kid,
Who are the biggest influences for you? I'm sure the parents are right up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my parents, my family, my sister growing up, we were a really close family, and we all did a lot of those things together, and it was a great place to grow up. Though, my family is a huge influence. I think everyone will get a chance to see them. They'll come out to games. My dad will usually try to make some of the road trips, maybe travel some, and so they're excited about it. They're looking forward to coming out and experiencing the pit and all the things that New Mexico has to offer. Can
you remember the first time you beat Dad in one-on-one on the basketball court?
Basketball wasn't really his thing,
no?
So I think it was probably it took me longer to beat my sister than it did my dad.
That was my next question. What about the battles with sister?
She was the better. She's always been the better athlete. She ended up going on to play. She played softball at the University of North Carolina, and she kind of had it as a high bar all the time in terms of the level of athletics and her performance on the court. And she was kind of all everything in basketball, volleyball, softball. And she was the best athlete in the family for sure.
So pretty good little role model for you there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great stuff. So Coach Olen from Mobile, Alabama, and you got to play some basketball there in Mobile as well, collegiately. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I played at Spring Hill College, which is at that time was NAIA school right there in Mobile, and then it's now Division II. But it was a great opportunity for me. I went to a place where I could, got to play early in my career. We had pretty good teams at a small college level, and just learned a lot about college basketball, and learned a lot about how to compete and what that looked like. Had some fantastic teammates that, we still talk to. I actually talked to one of them yesterday, and just learned a lot about higher level athletics and what it takes to be successful in a college atmosphere. And the coach that I played for there, Bill Carr, ended up on the West Coast, and kind of how I got my start was playing for him. And he invited me to help him, and that was sort of where I cut my teeth in basketball, and then transitioned that into learning how to do it on the other side. I think nothing's better than playing, but the coaching part is pretty close because you get to stay involved and you have the competitive outlet and all those things that I really appreciate.
What position or positions did you play as a kid growing up and then into college, and how did those positions in your experience as a player sort of influence what you do as a coach today? Yeah,
I think there's some overlap there. I could shoot it a little bit. I could pass. I wasn't a very good athlete. I was kind of a two guard. I kind of went 3-point line to 3-point line a little bit. My teams now shoot a lot of threes, so I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but it might be. So I think, but everybody I think is shaped by their experiences, right? And so how I saw the game as a player is probably not too much different than how I see it as a coach, and I think that's pretty common. I think you see. Some coaches, if you're a post guy, maybe your team pounds the ball inside, or I think everybody's different in how they approach it, but everyone sees it through a specific lens, and I think that certainly influences their decision making as a coach.
Coach said his teams like to shoot the three. I hope I did the math on this right. I know that your UCSD team from this past year did shoot over 1,000 threes. I think it was right at 50% of your field goal attempts were 3-point shots. How did the makeup of your offense and the way that it's constituted come to that? Because that's a lot of threes.
Yeah, it kind of happened organically in how we developed offensively. It's always a work in progress, and hopefully we can continue to morph and build it again to each team, and it continues to grow based on different players and how we want to add concepts or take them away and use them differently. But it's really just about the value of the shot, right? And the 3-point line kind of adds a little bit of a math component to it, where the value gets skewed with the extra point for those attempts. And we're aggressive from there. And then it's more than just the makes or the volume. Like it's the gravity and what it does to the defense. It's the spacing on the floor. I think those are all things that you have to consider when you're building your shot profile of your team. But it's also like you have to have the guys to do that. Like if we don't have the personnel, we aren't just going to shoot threes if those aren't valuable shots. So it's not just we shoot a bunch of threes in and of itself. It's very much more about what are the highest value shots we can get for each player, and then how we want to sort of create those shots and what's the hierarchy within our team of who needs which shots. So it is a foundational part of what we're doing, but it also, if we don't have the players to execute it or it doesn't make sense, then we can certainly adjust it and dial it back a little bit.
We wanted to do something fun with Coach Olen today. I guess we'll call it a little bit like rapid fire, although we're not going to go through it quickly. We'll take some time on it where appropriate, but I just wanted to ask some fun stuff. Some of it might seem a little silly, but maybe a chance to get to know Coach Olen a little bit better. And some of it will be pretty insightful. Did you have a college team that you followed as a kid that was in your heart?
So, we root for Alabama football, or we did. Now we root for Lobo football. But if you grow up in Alabama, it's one or the other. And then when my sister chose North Carolina, then we sort of always followed that program and the basketball side of that with all that history. So we always kind of paid attention to that, and when we would go to the games and stuff when we visit and things like that. So those are probably the two college teams that I followed when I was younger.
Any professional...
Feels like just the Yankees and the Alabama football, North Carolina basketball. Like I'm a real front runner apparently.
Alabama or Auburn, it's what you said, right? You got to pick one.
Absolutely.
So it was the Tide. Professional sports teams, baseball, football, basketball. Any favorites?
Yeah. So football, basketball would be New Orleans Saints and the Pelicans. Just from proximity, New Orleans was about 2 hours from Mobile, so we would get over there every once in a while.
Big Drew Brees guy, I bet.
Yeah, love Drew Brees, right? He was with the Chargers before that. And, as a kid, we kind of followed Atlanta Braves baseball. Some of those 90s teams with Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine and John Smoltz and the World Series and that kind of stuff. I was kind of probably early teens when that was going on. So that was cool. But then, being 20 years in San Diego, we followed the Padres a little bit as well.
Was there a basketball player when little Eric Olen was putting up those shots that you were dreaming of being that guy? Was there a player like that?
I don't know. When I was growing up, Michael Jordan was obviously the main face of basketball. So certainly him, Scottie Pippen, the Bulls were great. Like the 92 Dream Team was something. I was 12 years old watching them. I thought that was the coolest thing when they put all those guys together and, you see them. But just kind of all those guys in the NBA in the early 90s were the guys that I followed.
Is there a figure, it could be a prominent political figure or a prominent sports figure or someone from history, if you had a chance to have a dinner and sit down with somebody and get a chance to talk to them and get to know them a little bit, who might that person be?
Oh, I don't know. I think I kind of mentioned Alabama football. I think Nick Saban is pretty legendary in his work as a college coach, and so I think I like the way that he talks about things in terms of process and not being results oriented and things like that. So watching him kind of turn Alabama football around and turn it into what it was up until he finished was something that I followed, and he's someone I'd love to have dinner with.
Okay, favorite seafood?
Oh, I would say like a really good gumbo, even like maybe crawfish etouffee, something like that from the Gulf Coast. That's pretty great.
From your home area?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. If you're eating a steak, which one is it? Which cut?
Oh, I'm probably gonna go like ribeye, medium rare. That's probably my preference.
Beautiful. You're on an island, and it's your last meal. What's that meal look like?
Oh, it might be steak, little asparagus.
My favorite vegetable.
Yeah, Probably still a little, maybe potato with that.
What kind of potatoes? Are you a baked potato guy? Or?
I don't mind a baked potato. I'd probably go, like, if we're going to a steakhouse or something, I'm probably going to get more like the whipped potatoes there with the, asparagus, maybe a little Parmesan on top. Like, yeah, something like that.
If you're having a drink, is there a favorite drink?
I'm not a big drinker, but I like a nice glass of wine with dinner. Maybe a margarita on a hot day.
Red or white?
Mostly red.
Okay.
Yeah.
Margarita on a hot day. That's popular here.
Yeah.
Okay. Boxers or briefs?
Boxer briefs.
Okay. Boxer brief combination.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So are you a cake or an ice cream guy?
Oh, I would go ice cream.
What's your favorite flavor?
I like coffee ice cream.
No way.
Yeah.
Absolutely my number one.
Yeah, I like with the little chocolate chips in there. That's my
goodness.
jam.
9.9 times out of 10. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, absolute best. What's your favorite fruit?
Oh, favorite fruit? I don't know. That's a good question. I like oranges, pineapple, something like that. Citrus, yeah.
Okay. Apples?
Yeah, I like apple.
A little bit?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. A little peanut butter. Yeah.
There you go.
Apple and peanut butter.
Perfect. If you were not a basketball coach, what might Eric Olen be doing as a profession?
Ooh, that is. I don't know. I've talked to my wife about that, where I'm just like, I don't think I'm equipped to do anything else. So luckily we don't have to find out.
Would it be something with that finance major that you got? Maybe.
It's hard to imagine, being in an office, at this point when, I don't know that would be the thing for me. I really I love being part of a team. I love being around the players, kind of their energy, and hopefully try to keep me young a little bit. So I can't imagine doing anything else, honestly.
Did you guys play any board games as a kid? Do you have a favorite board game, or what were, something that the family sitting around the table, what'd you guys do?
Yeah, so my family loves games. Like that's a big thing. We love game night, and that's something that we do all the time. There's a show, I don't even know what channel it's on, but my wife watches. Well, I watch it too. I think it's called Traders.
Okay.
Where it's a reality show and everybody's kind of lying to each other about who's a traitor and who's not. There's a board game version of that the name escapes me right now. I want something about a werewolf, and so you each get like a different role card, and then you got to pretend not to.
It's called One Night.
Yeah, maybe something like that. So my 7-year-old is learning how to play that game. So we have mixed emotions.
Fantastic game.
She's getting pretty good at it, but that requires her to be a pretty good liar. So now we're like trying to make sure she understands that that's specific to the game, and you're not supposed to lie to us all the time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's good parenting or not, but we enjoy the game.
Oh, no, it's a terrific game, and that's outstanding parenting. It is a skill when used appropriately.
Yeah.
How did you meet your wife, Lauren?
We met in college.
Okay, so college sweetheart.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then so we've gone back a long time. I think we kind of crossed the threshold of like knowing each other for more than half our lives at this point, and so it's I think something that we both really value is kind of growing up together and having that kind of length of the relationship.
What are the ages of Avery and Madeline, and what's it like being in a household with 3 women?
Avery's 9 and Madeline's 7, and I mean, nobody's got it better than me.
Awesome. The whole thing of being a girl dad, I've always thought of it just as being a father, and you happen to have girls. But what has that experience been like for you, and how has it shaped you? And I guess, what have you learned from parenting that's helped you in coaching? I'm sure that there's some things that you've discovered as a dad that have really helped you mentoring young men.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, being Avery and Madeline's dad is the privilege of a lifetime, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And so, yeah, I love that. And I think, like, if you ask the players that were playing for me prior to the Avery and Madeline coming along, I think they would unanimously say that my patience has improved quite a bit relative to where I was as a very young coach, and then I think becoming a father and a parent and having just better perspective. Like I don't think you can quite have the perspective of of that without the experience. And I think that perspective helps just with the understanding of, who people are, and, everybody's someone's son in our case, and like just how you manage different situations, having a little more patience with people, understanding that, young people make mistakes and trying to help them get through it as opposed to bury them with criticism all the time. So certainly helped me in terms of my patience. And yeah, I think the guys who played for me in the first few years before I was a parent would probably unanimously agree that I've softened quite a bit.
That's awesome perspective. Let's wrap it up with that. Coach Olen, it's been just great being with you for the first time. Look forward to getting to know you. And Lobo fans, I know, can't wait to see your first product on the court come November. And I look forward to our next chance.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. This was great.
Eric Olen, brand new head basketball coach at the University of New Mexico. And that's it for this edition of your Lobo Pod.
The Lobo Pod is a production of UNM Athletics.